this much instead of a page.
Part two.
Part two. Take two. We were talking about the snow blowers, chainsaws, and lawn tools. Putting the ones that you just finished back to the back and bringing the stuff into the new season coming up, giving it to the front, getting the ice melt bought now before the price gets jacked up after the first snow. And it's good to have, when you think about ice melt, some people just throw it right out of the bag. That salt will actually mess with your hands. It'll cause it to chafe. You need a old pair of jersey gloves, and they do sell them here. In fact, 50 cents, it's right behind that sign, 50 cents for the brown jersey gloves. You get several of those pairs, and you can use them, throw the ice melt, and keep that with the ice, so that, and at the end of the season, throw those gloves away. That saves your hands, and also saves, it actually hurts when you have to dig it out with your hands. Some people use a scoop or whatever, but having that gloves just makes things easier. I brought these clippers up, and you kind of asked about it. Why do I have these clippers out here for weatherization? Well, those bushes that grow up in front of your windows will eventually get full of ice, and it can tap against your window. You can use clippers, trim your bushes, take off it. God talks about 3 types of pruning. You prune for the sick, the sick and dying branch. You want to cut them away so it doesn't affect the whole tree. You also prune for all the dead stuff, getting it out of the way so new growth can have a place to grow into. But you also prune good stuff so that the nutrients are saved for the better blossoms, for your flowers and such. That's one of the things my wife does. She always prunes those flowers so that the ones that do come up are more vibrant. If you just let it go this natural way, you'll have a bunch of little ones, but they won't really blossom. They won't develop. And so God does that in us as well. In our ministries, if we have too many ministries, we become stagnant. We get locked up. We can't do any more because we're so tied in. But if you let those ministries go to someone else that they're fresh, they're new, let that resource be theirs to use. And so Papa's Tool Shed is the same way. I'm trying to raise guys up into to know these kind of things and how to teach so that they can go out and do their own ministries and have a backboard to blossom. And so it's kind of like, some people will take clippings and they will do starters. That would be a great thing to do in the fall so that when springtime comes, they're already developed, ready to plant. But I brought this up because I have a hedge right in front of my window that I want to clip that and trim it up before it gets too bad in the winter when there's a bunch of ice there, because I don't want all that ice next to my house. I have the slate siding, so it can be very damaging. Also, talking about the winter coming up, weatherizing your trucks. Some trucks are only 2-wheel drive and they don't do well in the snow unless you have 8 tubes of sand in the back of the truck. Or some people will leave their wood in the back, like chop down trees and stuff like that. Anything to provide weight for the back of your truck gives you better traction. You want to do that now before the first snow happens, because then you're stuck. But if you're prepared for it, then that's part of the weatherization. And let's see, sources of information. So if you have questions that you just, how do I do something? A lot of people nowadays with their phones are going to Google. They're Googling it, and it gives you some. Sometimes you just want to have that hands-on. You can ask other church members. You can ask at the ReStore is a great source. You can ask people here, and they can. If they don't have the answer, they'll help you find the answer. You can also go to the big box stores. They have classes like we're doing here, and about different painting and weatherization and so on and so forth. That's another avenue because I don't have all the answers. I'm just giving you a shotgun effect of all that I know. But talk, if you know, go to Habitat of Humanities, then they'll point you in the right direction. They may even say, hey, we got somebody doing that very thing on this house that we're building, and you can go and donate a day and learn what you're going to do, what you can learn there, make mistakes there. Find the right way to do things, and then go home and so you have the experience already to do it at your own house. There's also Google, YouTubing, Pinterest is another avenue, and you can always call a handyman and say, hey, give me an estimate. And while they're there, get them going, what are you planning on? How would you do it? And then you don't necessarily have to use them, but if you want them there, I mean, if you don't want to do it, because they'll tell you how much labor intensive it is, you may say, that's out of my, I don't want to paint the trim at the top of my house, get a handyman to do it. Let's see. One scripture that I want to end with is John 16:33. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace in Christ. And so, I pray that what I've done is honoring and glorifying God. I pray that I have not misled you in any way, and if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Because I have a lot of experience, but not all the experience. I'm a jack of all trades. I know a little bit about everything, but nothing about all. And so, in the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. That's Christ speaking. That's the last half of that scripture. That just if you put Christ first in all that you say and do, then He'll be there and make sure you're doing it right to the glory of God and the Father. But as you go through trials and tribulations, I've gone through cancer twice and chemotherapy once, and actually 2 different kinds of chemotherapy. One for my bladder cancer, one for my colon cancer. And I don't have all the answers, but I found ways to help me get things done in a short time. We running out of time?
Yeah, somebody was trying to call.
Oh. Christ has already overcome the world, so there's nothing in it that He can't help you through. When I was going through my chemo, they said, how do you do it? How do you do it? I was like, well, God brought me to, God will bring me through. And so, with that, if you have any questions, I brought the lawnmower blade up. When you're having it clean, you might also take time to take a file, just kind of knock off the rust, and so it's ready to go for the spring. Sorry, I have that squirrel moment. And so, do you guys have any questions? Anything that I can confuse you with? Help you with?
You've done a great job.
How often should I switch out my furnace filter? Is that more than once a year or just once a year?
Depending on how dirty your house is.
If we got a lot of pets.
Most filters are 3-month filters.
Okay.
But my wife makes me go down every month because the filter will get clogged just a little bit, and that will cause a resistance, which is not making it less effective. So my wife has me change it monthly. When I worked at City Munition, we had some filters in some high populated areas where we changed out monthly, and some that were just kind of a backup to a backup, those were changed every 3 months. And so I would do this periodically, go down and just check it. Just see, pull it out, see if it's wet. See, I have a lot of moisture in my basement. Pull it out, see if you have anything that's maybe, you might even notice it's kind of indented toward the blower. That means it's pulling all that into it. Go ahead and change it out there. You don't want it to, because if you let it go any longer, it will pull into the fan, and then you're going to have to pay $200 to fan replacement. I don't know how that would happen. To me, it just happens. That's a very good point. It's a very good question. A lot of people don't think about shingles being a weatherization. During this time when we're out there cleaning the gutters, take a look at your shingles. See if you have any bald spots or any spots that may be sagging. You may have underlying issues. The whole point is to prepare for the season that's coming. In the fall, you want to do it because you're going to get heavy laden snow on that roof. You don't want to have any weak joints because the heavy snow will cause that weak joint to break. And now you got a bigger problem in your house. And so you might take the time to look at your insulation above. Go into the attic space and see if if you develop any wet spots. Maybe a roof leak that has caused the insulation to sag. That, if it's not taken care of now, will lead to more costly replaces and fixes. That's a good question and a good segue to other thoughts that jump into my head. Any other confusing questions or? No?
Thank you.
You all want everything. Do it to honor God. since I have such a captive audience, I want to look through these talking points about Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity's been working here at Truman Heritage for 30 years. All Eastern Jackson County, Missouri building homes that are safe, affordable, and decent, extending a hand up, not a handout. Mission statement is seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. Some of the other things is Truman Habitat also provides education about home maintenance, budgeting, and cooking classes through the Missouri University Extension. And they have families to get together in their homeowners, with homeowners, including Christmas party. So they do all sorts of getting. What I like about Habitat for Humanity, can I just speak for a moment, is that I go there and I learn a trade or learn how to do something, and me learning, I'm also helping somebody who can't do all for themselves. One of the buildings that we do is, or I think currently, is the Veterans Building. I'm a veteran, and to me that speaks highly to that community, that we're giving back to them as well. We're not just, they're not just another number. They're actually something designed just for them. And you'll see a lot of veterans pitching in to help that veteran to have the best home that they can have. So it's a great resource to have, because these guys are doing it with heart. You want to follow the guys with heart, not just doing it for the dollar. Because when you're doing it for heart, you actually put more into it. You look for mistakes before they become a problem later. And so my heart's for the Habitat for Humanities. I love the fact that we're doing these now in stores, so we can kind of bring some what the store has available, so that you can go out and shop and think about those weatherizations. Well, maybe I should get some exterior paint to cover those seals or those exposed wood, or the porch. Let's get some of that stain and make it look right, and then put a good sealer on it so that when it comes to snow time, it's not causing, you're not having dingy snow because the deck was poor. My wife and I spent a day just going around the house and caulking all the concrete joists for our porch and for our foundation, and we made it daily. And so we pulled the shrubbery away from the house and trimmed it up with my own clippers, and that's why I grabbed this, because that was one of the tools I used to weatherize my house. And we cleaned all the brush away, and then we found the exposed cracks that we need, because all the brush was away, we were able to see it. And so it's just a good mindset, because God's giving you the house. He's giving you the ability to maintain that house. And I hope that I helped you have the tools to do that.
Very good. Very good, Dean. Thank you so much.
Did I miss anything?
Nope, that was
Okay.
good.
Well, that concludes this day.
Well, we thank you for coming and sharing all this knowledge with us, and we want to invite anybody that is looking for a good deal to come in and shop the ReStore. Sometimes you can get things at just a fraction of the price. As well as if you have questions too and everything, we can also forward them on to Special Ed and get you some answers. So we appreciate you, and God bless you, and we'll see you at the store.